Hello everyone, and welcome back to an all-new edition of AD and DT, exclusively here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our multimedia marketing partnership. AD, Athletics Director Bob Beretta, myself, DT, Dan Tortora. Bob, as always, great to see you.
Great to see you, Dan. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, and I am ecstatic to have a conversation with you because there's been so much success here at LeMoyne, and we've talked about Giving Day and just what has come from that, the goal of having 2022 donors for the year 2022, and that went over 3,000, over $1 million raised, a lot coming in here to athletics, and LeMoyne is ripe for evolution and progression, I would say, going through this.
Yeah, it is. We're so thankful to our friends and family members and all those that have supported LeMoyne Athletics and LeMoyne College over the years, and particularly with Giving Day. Every dollar, as we've talked about, is so much appreciated that it helps our student athletes pursue comprehensive excellence, and that's really what we're all about in this athletic department, is providing opportunities for our student athletes to pursue excellence, whether that's in the classroom, on their competitive playing fields, or in the community. Very important parts for all of us, and Giving Day allows us to do that. And we're always trying to look to advance and improve our product for our student athletes and for our community members as well.
And being a Jesuit institution and being strong in faith and having that be a foundation of everything, you and I have seen, and the world has seen, that these Catholic institutions, these Jesuit institutions, institutions that have been so proud to celebrate their faith and keep it at the center, have had so much success, be it Xavier, be it Creighton, St. Bonaventure, St. Peter's. How exciting has it been for you and Dr. Linda Lemira and really this entire campus to see that as a group that is connected through faith, we've seen so much success with these universities and colleges recently here that have the faith, have the teaching in the classroom, and then obviously have a lot of strength in athletics.
Yeah, it really has been an exciting several weeks for all of us in Jesuit institutions or the Franciscan groups in St. Bonaventure, my alma mater, and to just see a lot of these small private schools that are faith-based institutions experience success at the highest levels in the sport of basketball. It's been exciting, it's been invigorating, and they all have proud traditions in the sport of basketball, just like LeMoyne. Long before I arrived on campus here, LeMoyne has histories of traditions of rivalries with schools like Holy Cross and St. Bonaventure and on and on and on, right? These great old rivalries. So there's relationships there, and we talk, right? The Jesuit network is small, 28, I think now 27 Jesuit institutions across the country, and we do have relationships, and we talk, and we're thrilled to share in their success. We like that fact that we're kind of viewed as a little bit of David against Goliath at times, but it's nice to see that we can achieve at the highest levels and put our student athletes in positions to be really successful and have those lifetime experiences like the young men at St. Peter's and the young ladies at Creighton experienced here the past several weeks.
Yeah, and the Creighton Blue Jays, a team that's been on my radar for a bit, and I got to go see the men's side of it at the Big East tournament in the Garden, and to see their successes and what they've been able to do, perennially involving themselves in the NCAA tournament, and the women doing so well in the NCAA tournament on their end. Creighton has definitely been a spark, and with the Catholic Seven and what they were calling themselves when they shifted out of the old Big East and took the name, took the logo, and created a new Big East, Creighton was asked to join that. And I think that's really a beautiful thing to have these faith-based schools say, okay, Creighton, why don't you be a part of this, and look at how successful they've been.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic, and our student athletes see that too and say, why can't that be us, or why can't we do those kinds of things? So it's invigorating, like I said before, and to see a semifinal matchup of St. Bonaventure and Xavier at the Garden back in late March was fantastic to see that. I'm a Bonaventure graduate, so of course I took a little maybe greater pride in that than many others, but yeah, the success of St. Peter's, I mean, that captured the nation's fancy, right? They were everyone's Cinderella team, and they're not a whole lot different than LeMoyne in terms of enrollment, in terms of mission, in terms of budget, in terms of all those things. So yeah, we enjoyed the ride from afar and tried to share in a little bit of the success as well.
In St. Peter's, a MAC school, and seeing them in the MAAC, a conference that, like you said, the why not us, why can't we do this, why couldn't this be us from the student athletes? St. Peter's had that same notion, that same feel, faith-based in the MAC, and to elevate themselves as the first 15 seed ever to make the Elite Eight. Such an incredible story that begs the question of, schools that have this base and have this foundation and have this love for athletics. Why can't a LeMoyne go there? Why can't a St. Peter's do it? And St. Peter's said, it's not why can't we did. So that's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's part of my job as the athletic director, but also all of us here at LeMoyne, we're constantly evaluating opportunities. We want to put ourselves in the best position to be successful and to consider any opportunities that might come along. And this is a very dynamic time in college athletics right now with the rewriting of the NCAA Constitution and now a flurry of realignment and reclassification. And we're going to explore everything. We're going to take a look at all opportunities, and I think we would be doing a huge disservice to our community, our stakeholders, and our student athletes if we didn't explore every opportunity out there. So LeMoyne is taking a look at things. We're looking deep and hard at possibilities that might present themselves in the next several weeks or several months, and that could be reclassification, it could be a shift in divisional alignment, it could be the fact that we decide, hey, this is a perfect fit for us right now in the NE10. We looked at things and decided this is a great place for us. So again, I think that you're in that constant state of examination. I think that's where we are right now as an industry, and I feel like we've done everything. We'll continue to do our due diligence, explore possibilities, and be prepared to react accordingly, right? Be nimble, be adept, and be ready to shift and adjust if an opportunity presents itself.
And in looking at everything, potential reclassification, that begs the question of Division I.
Yeah.
What can you say to that respect?
Well, again, we're looking at everything, and we're going to look at feasibility of a Division I reclassification. We'll take a look at the feasibility of a shift to Division III. We're taking a look at, hey, maybe this is right where we belong, right here at Division II. And LeMoyne has done this previously, I think 3 times in the past 10 or 12 years, as recently as 2017, went through a discernment process and decided that, hey, this is the best fit for us right here at Division II in the Northeast 10. I know a similar study was done in 2010, but the landscape changes daily right now, and I do believe that even though we've gone through 2 of these similar processes in the past 10 or 12 years, with the dynamic state of collegiate athletics, that pretty much dictates your movement, right? It's not that, oh, we did one of these 5 years ago, we're good. Yeah. No, I think that you have to remain nimble, you have to keep your ear to the ground, you have to be aware of opportunities. The landscape changes daily, as we've said a couple times here already today. So we need to continue to evaluate and reevaluate on a daily basis and be prepared to shift if we decide as an institution that a shift is in the best interest of this college and it's in alignment with the mission of the college. I mean, anything that we do in athletics must be in alignment with the mission of the college. I mean, I've said this many times, that athletics might not be the most important thing. It can't. If it's the most important element of an institution, then you have misalignment, right? We are always going to be aligned perfectly with the institutional mission. But athletics provides great visibility. With great visibility comes great opportunity. And with great opportunity comes tremendous responsibility. We take it very seriously. That's why we're looking into things right now.
And as you go through the process, like you said, LeMoyne has been in this process 3 times in the last 10 to 12 years. What goes into the work that has to be done on your end as to discerning where it might make sense for LeMoyne? As you said before, look at reclassification and different pieces and whatnot, and it was ultimately decided at that time, 5 years ago, let's stay in Division II, let's stay in the NE10, let's continue to move forward from here. What goes into the process now as you look at everything? What are you looking at? What are the pillars that you may need to build this house upon if and when there is a reclassification?
That's a great question, Dan, and it's deep, right? You look at every element of your college. You look at institutional fit. Is there a conference that might make sense? But also, where do we stand as a college, right? Because there are many areas that are worthy of investment level in the side of academics, in the side of community, in the side of what is just generally right. What's the best long-term strategy? So all of those layers need to be examined very thoroughly, and we're going to do that. We're going to take our time, do our due diligence. The president, the board of trustees, the faculty, very important part of all this, the faculty senate, everyone will be involved. This will not be a decision that's made by the athletic department, certainly in a vacuum. It's not going to be made by the athletic department. You know, we'll have the opportunity to discuss and have input and feedback, but ultimately any realignment or potential reclassification would come after hours and hours of discussion, of dialogue, of examination, looking at the financial aspect, and is it best that we invest in this area as opposed to that area as an institution? What's our strategic vision? Where does it fit in our strategic plan as an institution? Do we want to leverage athletics? Where do we want to leverage athletics? So many, many layers. A college, an institution, university cannot run into this level of decision without great thought, without great examination, without great discernment, and at the highest levels of leadership. And that's where we're at. That's the process that we're going to follow. And we'll see what happens at the end of all those conversations. And then ultimately, we could decide that this is a great fit for us right now, and we want to remain in the Northeast 10 Conference. And very well, that could be the decision, that this is a perfect fit at Division II. But we'll take a look at all three, and then ultimately, there would need to be interest on another end if we were decide to reclassify to Division I or Division III. There needs to be a conference that would be interested in inviting LeMoyne to that conference, right? So I say this with the greatest respect to our current conference, though, the Northeast 10, and Julie Rupert, the commissioner, and all of our conference members. I mean, I think if you were to poll all the athletic departments in the conference, I would assume that many are going through a similar process, just because it is such a dynamic time. And I feel as an athletic director, particularly here at LeMoyne, we need to at least explore the opportunities and the possibilities, because this could be an inflection point for our institution, and we just need to be prepared so that if there was an opportunity that would come to LeMoyne, that we'd be in position to make that decision ourselves.
Yeah, you know, and we look at the Northeast 10 and Merrimack and what they were able to do and to reclassify themselves as Division I. We know that Stonehill is making that move. So this conference is in a place where this is not an atypical situation. This is not something that they have not been used to seeing, that the colleges and universities from within the Northeast 10 have not only made the case, but some of them have made the jump. So I think, you know, being a part of the Northeast 10 and seeing what happened a few years ago, and then seeing what's happening now with one of the schools that you're used to competing against, right, you have no choice but to have the conversation.
That's exactly right, Dan. I think that with the announcement on Tuesday of Stonehill's intention to withdraw from the Northeast 10 Conference, becoming a reclassifying member of the Northeast Conference beginning July 1, 2022, we know that University of New Haven publicly has stated that they would like to reclassify to Division I, and I think that at this point they're probably awaiting an invitation. I don't want to speak for New Haven, but they publicly stated that they have a strong desire to reclassify. We know that the Northeast 10 won't remain status quo. We know that right now because Stonehill has expressed its plan to leave.
Yeah.
So the status quo is not the status quo, right? The Northeast 10 that we're currently competing, in which we're currently competing this spring and this past academic, will not look the same for the next academic year. We know that. So, you know, I think that it's a turbulent time. And again, we want to be able to be in position to make our own decision, right? To be able to impact our future. We want to have control of our own destiny in this situation.
You look at Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC, and you and I had spoken off the air about this, that trickle down effect, that you feel that, and you're not the first person to say that to me in the athletic world, that two teams within the Big 12 saying we want to go to the SEC was felt rippled throughout, and it wasn't just felt through Division I, it was felt through Division II, Division III, that this is a real thing, that when a team makes a move in collegiate athletics today, you feel that. How quickly did you feel that, and how evident was it when you felt it?
Well, I think when it happened in July, I had a hunch that eventually it was going to reach all the way down to the Division II levels, and even down to Division III levels. There was just this layering approach, and you could start to see the dominoes take shape as they started to fall during the fall, with football schools and the FCS schools that might want to jump up to the FBS level, and Division II reclassifying schools. We know several have, in the past several months, have already expressed their commitment to reclassify, whether that's Lindenwood, right? We know that Queens is exploring it. There's been several others. Southern Indiana University has stated that they're going to reclassify next year. So you start to see those ripples, and it does. It reaches all the way down to the Division II level. And so we kind of knew that there was going to be a domino effect, and then when all the music stopped, that the chairs were going to shift around, and it was going to reach the Northeast. You know, I think right now the center of gravity in reclassification and conference realignment is in the Northeast, and it's the mid-major conferences, right, that you're starting to see that. And we felt like we just needed to be in position to impact our own destiny, and rather than if an opportunity were to come across LeMoyne's front porch, we didn't want to not be allowed to at least consider that because we didn't have certain things in place. So that's what we've worked really hard at, you know, strengthening our internal processes to get to the point where, hey, should an opportunity come, and should LeMoyne decide that something LeMoyne, it's in the college's best interest, and I say that's a big if, right? It's a big process we have to go through, and we have to listen to a lot of voices and consider a lot of different, and we're not anywhere near that point right now. But if something were to develop, that we'd be able to act and be the controllers of our own destiny, as opposed to someone saying, well, you're not in position to do this right now. And that's what our focus has been and will continue to be. And quite honestly, it'll be that'll continue to be the case, whatever we decide right now, as we continue to evolve, right? We have to always continue to evolve and improve and strengthen our foundational base, and be as an attractive institution, not only for potential student athletes, but also for our entire community, our alumni, our fans, and all those that have a vested interest in LeMoyne College.
Yeah, you know, and when you look at this effect, this, you know, cause and effect, Oklahoma and Texas as the example, so they jump out of the Big 12, right? They go to they say we're going to the SEC. Then the Big 12 goes to the American and says, okay, we're taking Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. Then the American goes to Conference USA and says, we're going to take 6 of yours. And then Conference USA has to bring in. And so there is a need for Division II institutions to come up, because the Division I conferences want to last. And there's some conferences within Division I that are saying, okay, well, with all of this movement and these musical chairs, as you said, they need teams to come up. UNC Charlotte a few years ago, there's teams that have, there's schools that have said, you know, whether we're ready or not, we need to get ready, because they're going to call somebody. And when they call maybe us, or we make that phone call, we want to be prepared. Like you said, whatever decision we make, all the ducks need to be in a row, the portfolio needs to be in place, the conversation needs to be there, so that you can be in control of your destiny and say, yes, we're going to reclassify, or no, we're going to stay where we are. Because we live in a world where when conferences are poached, they need to reload. And in reloading, they have, in recent history, in the last decade, looked to Division II and said, who's coming up?
There's no question. It's a supply and demand issue, right?
Yeah.
It's an inventory issue. And while much of the of conference realignment is driven by television money, and that's what the last major realignment was about, and really that's what set this into motion as well, you have to think about all those other sports that are represented in the conferences, right, that have sport representation throughout those Olympic sports. So the conferences have a minimum number of teams that have to participate in these sports in order to retain their AQ, right, their automatic qualifier into the NCAA championships. So while it's driven by television revenue, right? All of us have the minimum number of teams in each sport so that they can retain those AQs that are so valuable, right? That student athletes choose a school within a conference and expect to have the right to compete for an NCAA championship. But if suddenly you fall below the sport participation levels in a conference in any sport, that becomes a problem. You lose your AQ, and now you have some conference members that probably aren't real happy that now you no longer have a direct route to the NCAA championships.
Yeah, I mean, as simple as, having to go and ask the NCAA for a waiver in order to have a championship game within conference. The difference between having a full conference of teams just one through whatever or having divisions, there's a lot to be said about that. And I've spent a lot of time with the Americans saying, okay, well, now that you have 14 football schools, then there needs to be a conversation of splitting into divisions again. And from what I can understand, there are, coaches, I think, that really want that. And then, does the leadership, does the brass there want to do something like that? So there's so much to speak on here. I have to ask you this because you came from Army West Point at 34 years. Like you said, you had the longest internship ever. When you came to LeMoyne, was this a top of mind, back of the mind? Hey, if I come to this institution, I can see them because you've lived in the world of Division I and you understand it. You understand movement and realignment as well. Because so many things had already hit your desk, when you were envisioning yourself here at LeMoyne, did you have the notion of, hey, I can come to an institution that's maybe LeMoyne, maybe it's somewhere else, and as you look around the landscape of the country, this was advantageous because you saw that there could be an evolution here?
Yeah, great question, Dan. And even at West Point, right, we had several opportunities to leave, and we did at one point in time, right? In the late 90s, we joined Conference USA. We were in that conference for 7 years, then decided to realign back as an independent and pull out of Conference USA. And then subsequently, I can tell you that several opportunities to leave the world of independence while I was at West Point even, and my guess is that it happened again this fall. I would expect, because for many different reasons, Army was a very appealing candidate for conferences, from its national following, television audience, rivalries with Air Force and Navy, on and on and on. So there are opportunities at Army, and really no different than what we're doing here at LeMoyne. We were doing at West Point, keeping our ear to the ground, trying to understand, trying to project, trying to anticipate, be nimble, be adept, be ready to shift, and then be in a position to control our own destiny, right? It's nice to be asked and then have your own opportunity to say yes or no, or we're comfortable where we're at. And that's really where we built the Army program to. And here at LeMoyne, I will tell you that during my interview process, I knew that there was going to be a conversation about fit, about is this the right fit geographically, is it the right fit from a divisional standpoint, all those things we were going to take a look at eventually, at some point. Was it a driving factor in me choosing to come to LeMoyne and the LeMoyne folks offering me that position? I can only speak to me. It was something that I was excited about being part of. And do I see potential here for great growth? Absolutely, I do. Is it the right fit at the right time? I don't know that. We're going to go through this process and be very careful, very diligent, and it'll be a collaborative effort across all channels of the campus, from faculty, president, board of trustees, our leadership groups. We'll have as much dialogue as we possibly can. So it was something that I knew that we would probably take a look at and examine, because quite frankly, I mean, a good athletic director right now needs to be prepared for those things, right? We need to be prepared for any possibility. And I think our staff here has done a tremendous job in working together to try to strengthen some of the elements that we focused on here in the past 6 to 8 months to put us in position to perhaps consider an opportunity if it comes. Perhaps we won't, but we're going to have, I feel really strongly that our leadership will be in position to make that decision as opposed to having somebody else make that decision for us.
And I think looking at the grand scheme of things and all of this, there's over 30 conferences in Division I. So when we talk of the Northeast, there are, a lot of things that can make logistical sense if and when there was to be a conversation about it, which I think and there's a lot of value to that. And one of the things I task myself with, and it's funny because I was thinking about this morning actually before we had this conversation, is I love to get to know as many schools as possible, and I love to get to know where they're from and what they're about, and something that, you know, makes them memorable to me. And when you get to know these conferences, you really do get to see that in my, you know, we didn't have this conversation, but it was in my head of, you know, LeMoyne could make sense there, or that could fit, or that, you know, from this standpoint could work in 2 or 3 reasons, and then over here I think I find a fit, you know, in 5, 6 different ways. So I think, you know, like you said, you want to be in a position where you can make the decision, and I think that ultimately whatever decision is made, for people to know it's not a final decision, right? Nothing in collegiate athletics today is like stamped forever. There's no, you know, this is that and that's the end of it. And so I think that ultimately whatever LeMoyne decides through this process of learning and gaining knowledge and wisdom, it doesn't mean it's a forever. And I think that that's a big element of it, is if, you know, you and I are sitting down a couple months from now and you say, hey, we've decided to stay in Division II, or we've decided to reclassify to Division I, or whatever it may be, that it's always something that is being worked on and being thought of, and it doesn't, whatever decision's made does not state where LeMoyne is or the ceiling, I think is important to say. Like, your vision of LeMoyne, there is no ceiling. My vision of LeMoyne, there is no ceiling. So I think ultimately through the process, we know that nothing's finite, and at the same time, it never states that LeMoyne can't go here if they didn't go here today. Like you said, it's been looked at a few times already.
Yeah, I would say about the only thing that's definite right now in this landscape, right, in this arena, if you will, is that nothing's written in stone, and nothing is forever, and there's going to be constant change and turbulence, and whatever decisions are made now, they could be revisited again a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, as we are going through this process. So I think that's the only thing right now that's constant, is that there's this inconsistencies, this constant evolution and turmoil and movement. It might be another 10 years before there's another major realignment. We all knew that there was going to be another major realignment, and we felt like it was going to come up in the mid 2020s, right, based on when the state of rights for a lot of these football conferences expire. And it kind of jumped a little bit ahead. It fast-tracked based on what happened this summer with Texas and Oklahoma, and here we are. But as you said, nothing is forever, particularly in the world of college athletics, and particularly in the world of conference alignment and realignment.
Yeah, you know, and I think whatever does happen, from your standpoint and the time that you've spent here, what are the reasons, in your opinion, wherever you decide to go, whatever you decide to do, ultimately, the selling points of LeMoyne are what?
Yeah, I think who we are, our mission as an institution, what we stand for, our mission and guiding principles, our academic standing is impeccable, right? What we have to offer academically is second to none. Our mission, our Jesuit faith, our mission, what we believe in, our guiding principles, all those things, I think, make us very attractive to Division I conferences, Division II conferences, and Division III conferences. We've been very successful. Our alums have gone on to great success. We've been highly competitive in the athletic arena as well, and I put that last because, quite honestly, to be aligned appropriately from a mission standpoint, it should be last, or maybe not last, but it certainly needs to be behind the academics piece, right, and supporting the academic mission of this institution, which our athletic program will always be solidly behind the academic mission of the institution, right? And then athletics will fit in and serve as particularly maybe the side porch or a viewpoint for the institution, where we can leverage athletics in a way that really helps LeMoyne College from an academic standpoint, an enrollment standpoint, an engagement standpoint, all those things. So I think we have a lot to offer. I think you asked me before about the reclassifying or realignment, if that's what drove me to LeMoyne. I'd answer it more holistically. What drove me to find this very appealing was the potential of this institution, not just in athletics, but in terms of reach and engagement. And I just felt like there was this tremendous opportunity out there to expand our footprint, to tell our story. And that's because of the great work that was done by Matt Bassett and his staff in athletics, but also President LeMoyne, the academic side, how they've grown the business school, Jim Joseph, the dean of business, what they've done with the Madden School, and Mika Wells and the nursing program here. I could go on and on and on, but it's about what this institution has been, what it is now, and what it can become, and it's much greater than just athletics. It's a holistic look at what this institution stands for, the mission, and what it can be. That's what I talk to our staff about we need to be very mindful of who we were, obviously who we are, but we also need to be very mindful of who we can become, who we can be. And right now, to me, there are no limits. This is a limitless potential here at LeMoyne, and that's what made this a very attractive job for me.
I think that could be a very simple but deep statement, maybe a new tagline: LeMoyne is limitless, to have the two L's there. So a lot to be had. We all know that the beautiful month of July is always the one that people circle when it comes to reclassification and realignment. So the next few months will, I'm sure, be very busy and very, fruitful in the world of LeMoyne College. And you could be sure that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media will be first on the scene with anything that happens here in the movement or staying of LeMoyne where they are. Whatever I know about LeMoyne up to this point, and what I've continued to have constantly referred back to me, whoever I'm talking to, is that this is an institution that cares so much about faith first, is so deep and rich in the academic tradition. My dad's proud to be an alum of here, and on the athletic side of it, you don't just bring in student athletes and coaches that are competitive and good. You bring in people that are good, genuine human beings, and in the world of, in the game of life, they just bring so much more to the table. The stories we've gotten to tell, there's not a single person that's been on AD, and you and I talking an AD and DT and then Dolphin Dive, there's not a single moment, conversation, topic, or person that I've sat with where I haven't been moved by something that made them uniquely who they are. And I think LeMoyne should be very proud of the fact that whoever gets to connect with LeMoyne College, whatever conference that is and continues to be, whatever division that is and continues to be, for me, you're getting an institution filled with people that care so deeply about each other. There's such a feeling of community, and they say wherever you go, remember who you are. And I think LeMoyne's done a fantastic job of being who you are and being proud of that. And I think that should be advantageous to any conference or institution that I know of, to give a look at LeMoyne and to really, really sit down and to get to know the people, because the benefit of anyone working with LeMoyne is that it's going to make them better today and tomorrow than they were yesterday. And I'm not saying that to say that, I'm saying it because I know it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dan, and it's important. Right? LeMoyne's about people. We're special people here. The other piece that attracted me was the opportunity to work with some fantastic individuals, from President LeMoyne and her leadership team, and Tim Lee and Bill Brower and Roger Stackpool and that whole leadership team, right? Just fantastic leaders of this institution. So when you think about limitless potential and the ability to work with elite people, very attractive. It attracted me, and I think that would be very attractive to any conference, whether that's a Division II conference, whether that's the Northeast 10, our current home, and we're in good standing with our current conference, and any other group that might want to pursue an association with LeMoyne. LeMoyne is something that is greater than the name. It's greater than athletics. We stand for greater things, and I love being at West Point because we stood for a higher mission, and I feel like here at LeMoyne we also stand for a much higher mission.
A lot of excitement coming up for the Finn family, and as always, an AD and DT for Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. You have a spotlight here on LeMoyne like you've never had before, and we are more than proud to tell the stories. We've only just begun. So for AD and DT, we thank you for watching and listening every first and third Wednesday, and of course Dolphin Time is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call. Bob, as always, fins up.
Fins up, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you.